Well, what I have here is a rather interesting setup for a cheap electric bike battery, or at least a low power one. So what we've got here is a 3D printed battery holder that converts tool batteries into an electric bike battery pack. Essentially, this is a 2S configuration, or 2S 2P configuration rather. There is actually a separate one on the back of the battery assembly. They mount to it just like this. As you can see, this is the Lidl Parkside drill batteries. These have INR, high discharge cells in them. So in this configuration, we are safe to, draw about 20 amps or thereabouts. It's got 25 amp fuse, 20 amps continuous, 25 amps burst current. That's what he's rated it at anyway. So that seems respectable given the terminal size and the cell type in the battery. The cells will do 10 amps per cell, so in theory these bigger 4 amp batteries, you could suck 20 amps out of one of those, or each individual battery. Just because you're wiring it in series, it's still the same amperage. But if you wire it in parallel, theoretically we could get 40 amps, but this thing, I assume it's because these connectors, they're just like homemade bits of copper, so they might not be able to cope with that, so therefore it's rated at about 20 amps. So it's pretty reasonable. 36 volts, 20 amps, that's still a pretty reasonable amount of power for a low power electric bike build. Amps being, watts being volts times amps. This would easily run a 250 watt continuous electric bike, even a high bike or something like that with the right modifications and things like that, if you didn't have the existing battery and you wanted to recycle it by using your own battery. And if you have the tools, they do different ones. They do Makita, DeWalt. They do a bunch of others actually as well that I can't even remember what they were. Milwaukee, obviously. They do all the top brands plus some more obscure brands like these Lidl Parkside batteries, which are actually pretty decent. £44 for this setup we have right here, or it's £22 if you just want a single. A single is fine for like a low power 200 watt e-bike, 250 watt e-bike, things like that. A double is better for the same bike if you want to go longer distances without swapping the batteries out, because of course you will have to carry these in like a backpack or another luggage thing, and you'll have to swap them over for longer trips. That is what you want is at least this setup. You could go with this again and then have 8 batteries running it if you really wanted to. They're quite cheap. These are 22 quid, so it's a pretty cheap value for your 18650 power, and it's easy. There's no soldering BMSs or anything like that, or worrying about if the BMS from China is going to go supernova on you or anything like that. You just plug these into the charger. You obviously have to make sure when you're doing like this, all batteries are fully charged before putting them in, or at least an equal state of charge, which is easier just to be like, they're all fully charged, put them in. Don't go mismatching batteries that have some charge and don't have other charge, because otherwise what will happen is the flat battery will get charged by the full battery, and you could end up with a rather interesting result as it dumps that amperage into there so quickly it just goes pop. And then, you end up with a battery fire, which is always fun. I'm taking the mick, it really isn't fun. You don't want to be there. Be very careful when you're working around lithium batteries of any kind, just because it's the easier solution. Common sense still applies. There's a light here which will tell you whether it's roughly full. That's really not good enough. You want to be using a multimeter or the charger itself, and then check it with a multimeter to make sure that they are full, in my opinion, if you're going to be wiring in parallel. In series it's not so bad, but you can have load reversal, so if one's flat and one's full, that one could charge that one in theory. That can happen, and it completely destroys the battery. But apart from all the common sense related stuff, this is a really easy, relatively cheap, simple, elegant solution. That concludes this video on this battery charge, this e-bike battery or boat battery, whatever you need for 36 volt applications. This is a pretty good little setup really. That concludes this video.